Today, we're going to talk about if newsletters are actually a good business. So I'm going to kick this one off and actually start off with a screen share. This is by the Press Gazette, Future of Media, and it reveals the top 27 highest earning Substack newsletters that generate over $22 million a year. It shows that at least 5 Substacks, so this is the newsletter kind of service, draws in over 1 million annually. So I'm going to scroll down to the chart over here, and you can see that this newsletter over here, Letters from American, 5 million a year, 1.5, Lenny's newsletter, which talks about startups and product. So it shows that even though it's been around for a couple of years, that people are starting to build significant businesses off of them. And these people are just monetizing strictly off of, or mainly off of, so charging like $10 a month or $100 a month or something like that. And then this might be the implied pay ranges for people that are monetizing through the complete cycle. Neil, any thoughts on this out the gate?
One of the biggest newsletter businesses out there is Agora. They have Money Map, Agora Financial, Palm Beach. You're talking about a multi-billion-dollar organization. I don't know what their revenues are recently, but I know in the past few years, they're doing revenues when you start combining all of it of $1 billion+ a year. That's a lot of income for a newsletter business. And here's what a lot of businesses don't talk about with newsletters is when you get someone to subscribe for a newsletter and they pay you a little bit of money, anytime you push out anything marketing related to them, they're super active and they're much more likely to take action on it versus if you just have someone sign up for a newsletter that is purely free. So paid newsletter, the subscribers are much more active and are much more likely to do what you do when you're pushing out marketing related stuff to them versus people who don't pay for a newsletter subscription. Now, this doesn't mean that you should be charging for your newsletter or you shouldn't be, because of course a free newsletter will have many more subscribers than a paid one. You could in theory do a combination of both, but it is a good business. It's a modern version of someone charging for New York Times or Wall Street Journal or any of those.
Yeah, so what I'll say is I remember one of the biggest SaaS conferences, if not the biggest SaaS conference in the world, is SaaStr. And I think they do north of 20 million. And Jason Lemkin, the founder, says the one thing that's been most constant for them is whenever they push out a newsletter, they're going to get sales, right? It's basically like going to the cash register. Now, that doesn't mean you could just push out to the newsletter every time and say, go buy something. It means you have to provide a lot of value. And a lot of these newsletters, like Lenny's newsletter, it's great. There's a lot of startup founders and a lot of product people like reading it. And he brings in unique insights because he used to be a product guy at Airbnb, I believe. So what you can do is you can monetize through subscriptions, you can monetize through ads, and then in some cases you can sell your products or your services in there. And I'll be honest, I mean, we probably should have started a newsletter with marketing school. It probably would have been good for building community, and we'll work towards getting there. But we're just focused on building the pod right now, and we're focused on building the YouTube so we can get more. But if we had a newsletter and we just summarized our content each week, we had a copywriter that was on it, but we're just like, let's just focus on what's in front of us. We probably could do a lot more. And so there are Morning Brew as an example. They're doing like $70 or $80 million a year right now. I know The Hustle, I think, sold to HubSpot for 27 million or so. And then we have a client named Axios. They sold for $553 million. And so newsletters are a very significant business. And I think if done right, if you're going to do it right, there's a lot of great, I think there's one guy, his name's Matt McGarry. And he does a really good job of sharing kind of the economics of newsletters because he's helped The Hustle and he's helped the Morning Brew grow. I've actually gone to him behind the scenes and see if he'll help us grow ours on a performance basis. That way, it's just incentives are a lot more aligned there. He shared some numbers and he basically said that he believes that for each subscriber that you have, you should be making at least 50 cents each month. So if you have 10,000 subscribers each month, you should be making at least $5,000 a month. And so if you have a newsletter with 10,000 and you're like a solopreneur, you're making 60 grand a year on it. Let's just say you double it. That's 120 grand. That's decent money for writing a newsletter. And then you can work towards scaling it. I think it's a great business.
It also depends on the region your subscribers are in. So keep that in mind too. Currency exchange or currency rates in India or Philippines is not the same as they are in the
United States. Talking US here.
Yeah. Yep. So it is important to know where they're coming from as well. But yeah, no, newsletters are a good business. The reason I've never charged for a newsletter, I know a lot of other people make money from it. I just don't think they're the best business. Because look, if you can make that much money from a newsletter, imagine how much more money you can make from selling a product or service.
I would argue you do make money from it because you have your service.
Yeah, but why even charge for the newsletter? I rather just have a much bigger
You don't need to
list.
charge for it. I'm just saying you're monetizing through your service. That's my point.
No, totally agree. But I'm saying some people just make their money by charging for a newsletter and being
Mhm.
on there, right?
Yep.
And I believe that a better business model is not to charge to be on a newsletter, but instead to charge for a product or service. That's the real value. The multiples are also better when you sell a business. Let's say if you had a big newsletter and you push people to sign up for your SaaS product and your churn rate is great with your SaaS product, or it's low, that's probably a better word to use. If someone's going to give you 6, 7, 8, 10 times revenue, that's a much better.
Yep. So look, I think at the end of the day, Neil's got his newsletter. I've got my newsletter too. But if we were ever to do a marketing school newsletter, it'd probably be more ad driven because we sell ads on this one and we have very similar businesses. So we don't know how we would do that. I guess you'll find out in the future. We can strategize live. Because LinkedIn is still a golden opportunity to grow right now. I'll kick it off with number one. Number one, I'm actually pulling some data from a LinkedIn algorithm study, but number one is carousels have a better reach. And so if you are posting a carousel, what that means is you post a PDF and then people can scroll through it. Those tend to get about 2.5 to 3x reach versus like a video post or something like that. So carousels tend to do well. I've seen them do well on feeds, and you want to maximize the reach.
Hack number 2, go live on your LinkedIn. So what we do is we don't just go live on LinkedIn. We do it on all our social channels and we use Restream. We get amazing reach. Not a lot of people think about going live on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn wants more of those people. So do it through Restream. It's a great way to get your content out in front of way more people, and you should see more followers over time and better reach whenever you post.
Actually, I'm going to share some stats around this, Neil. So this is from this algorithm research done by Just Connecting. Some stats on LinkedIn Live compared to 2021. So this is a 2022 report. New LinkedIn users increased 74% personal profile and 126%. So I was actually going to push back on Neil, but he's actually right here. Average engagement is 2.5x higher than a native video post and feed. LinkedIn Live videos are almost invisible in newsfeed. Okay, that's interesting. Average LinkedIn Live duration is 28 minutes. An increase with almost 4 minutes from 2021. So it's going higher. LinkedIn Live lives shorter than 15 minutes. Like LinkedIn Live shorter than 15 minutes perform poorly, negative 3x engagement. Do you find that to be true, Neil?
I can't even see the stat, dude. The screen's too small for me.
It's too
I'm getting
small?
old.
Okay.
Can't even see what you're saying.
Yeah, stat for you. I'll read it for you, old man. Actually, no, I can make this bigger. Can you see that?
No.
Okay.
Okay, I'm zooming in. I don't know on the 15 minutes. I've never done a LinkedIn Live that's shorter than 15 minutes. Maybe I have, but all the LinkedIn Lives I've done in the last year are typically webinars, and they're much longer form, like almost an hour, and they've done extremely well.
So here's the other thing. I'm going to share some more stats from this before I move on here. There are posts with external links. I'm actually going to talk about reach with posts. Okay, here we go. Different formats and overview. So what I was just talking about earlier. So carousel posts will get 1.8 to 2.3x more reach. Document posts, 2.2 to 3.4x reach, right? So document could be, again, it could be you posting a actual document or a PDF. And then text and multiple pictures, those tend to do well. But the other stuff over here doesn't do as well. So video posts, I haven't seen do well historically. Newsletters, those are actually trending downwards. And posts with external links. So if you are going to post an external link, you ideally don't want to don't want the external link to pop up initially. You want to wait maybe about 12 hours or so until you post the next external link. And so I actually read about that somewhere and I tested it and it's actually made a difference. And so if you're going to post an external link, if you're going to edit your post, you don't want to do that till later. And your first 12 hours matters a lot. It's like YouTube, when you post your first video, what's the first wave in the first 48 hours or so? It's actually the first 12 hours for LinkedIn. So that is number 3 from my side.
Number 4, LinkedIn autofill. So as a business, if you're trying to collect more leads, LinkedIn has people's first name, last name, title, company, email, phone, city, zip code, state, and country. And LinkedIn autofill will make it where you just put this button on your form fields. They click a button and boom, snap of a finger, it fills in them all automatically for them. We've found it to boost conversions by over 10%. It's actually quite a bit better than that. It really varies per industry, but we usually see somewhere around like 14, 15, 16%, which has worked extremely well for us. And if you're in B2B, you definitely should check it out. B2C, I wouldn't really do it but for B2B, it is great. And you'll get a lot of people to just fill it out using that button. And you'll get, what we found is not only does it increase conversion rates, but you're getting more data, which then helps you score and qualify leads much better than if you didn't have that data in there. People are also less likely to fill out junk data because their LinkedIn profiles in most cases are filled with accurate information.
All right. My camera is dead right now, but I'm still here. So number five is engagement pods. So people might say, oh, it goes against the terms or whatever, but I've seen a lot of people grow their audiences using engagement pods. But here's the key thing. Let me explain what an engagement pod is first. One is, let's say you have a WhatsApp group or iMessage group and you have a bunch of LinkedIn creators in there and they're just sharing their posts, okay? The key thing is that these people are legit. They're posting legit content in there and they're actually engaging with real comments. And so it's not like it's like a spam group or anything like that. And you have an engagement pod. I've seen there's people in the group that have 400, 500,000 subscribers or so. They get like a lot of reach. They're just really consistent about helping each other and commenting. And people will post, let's say Neil posts something in there. He's not in my engagement pod. I'm just giving you an example. And then 10 people will engage at the same time. So it's giving a signal to LinkedIn that this is actually legit. And that's going to help you foster the initial engagement to give the push that it needs to, a post needs to have to quote unquote go viral.
Here's another hack. This is number 6, post less. So we've done a lot of tests on this. If you start posting on some social networks like Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, they're like, yeah, you want to post multiple times a day. We found that if you post multiple times a day on LinkedIn, it actually hurts the reach of the previous post. So we tend not to post more than once a day max, and we try to spread them out by at least 24 hours. We found that when we do that, the posts we do post get way more reach than if we just continually post back to back. And it's counterintuitive because everyone's like, content's king, you need to continually post. LinkedIn's craving it. Yes, they are craving it, but if you post too often, we're just seeing the reach not be as great on the post that you are putting up. So try to limit your post to once a day.
We are going to talk about the fastest and easiest way to increase your open rate. In this case, we're talking about email, could be for SMS as well, but I'm mostly talking about email here. And so this one's going to be a short one. Neil and I are going to give our thoughts here. So I can go first, and then Neil, you can go second. And so,
go for it.
So look, if you want to increase your email open, this seems counterintuitive, but what really matters in the very beginning is how you set your first impression. And so when you think about meeting a person for the first time, how did you feel about that person? Because that first impression holds a lot of weight. It's just like how a headline holds a lot of weight as well. And so your first impression actually makes a big difference. And so like how you go about when someone opts into your email list, right? Is your thank you page just thank you for subscribing? Or does it go further than that? Is your welcome email a lot further? So are you going to say, hey, here's what to do next. Here's what you can expect from this. We're super excited to see you. Here's some case studies, whatever it is exactly. If you have a good welcome email open rate, like on your thank you page and then also your welcome email, that open rate, let's say it's 50% or so, you're likely to have a good overall open rate around that range. It might not be 50%. It might be a little lower than that. But because you set such a good first impression and because you are not just like, oh, thank you for subscribing, prepare for some other emails from us. Like that's not exciting. If it's, hey, thank you for subscribing. Here's what you're going to get. Here's what you should do. Here's blah, 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 blah. It's like you give such a good first impression that people are looking forward to the next email. And that's the key thing here. The key thing with email marketing is you want to get people to continue to look forward to the next email. Otherwise, there's no point. They're going to forget you and people are busy with their days. So keep in mind, good first impression on a thank you page, good first impression with your welcome email, and you're going to be in a much better spot.
So at least me, I've talked about in the past things like scrub your list. You need it to be super clean. Don't send emails to people who aren't opening, because if you do that, you're going to go into the other inbox. And all these things do open up your open rate. But I've done a lot of tests. Eric, you want to guess what the number one thing that I found to increase the open rate is? If you had to pick one thing, it's not actually a tactic or a strategy. It's not even how much of a rapport you build with your readers.
It's not your double opt-in. I can't imagine it being that.
It's not double opt-in.
Oh my God, it disappeared again.
Funny enough, it's how new your content is. And here's what I mean by that. So check this out. We do a ton of emails. We send email blasts every Tuesday, Saturday, and then sometimes my team has one on Thursday, and that's on our main list. And then there's other stuff that my team does with drips and stuff like that, or webinar signups. If I end up sending out an email for some new content, not new content that I'm just writing, right? I'm talking about new stuff. So for example, if I talk about the 25 best Chrome SEO extensions, people have already heard about that. Even if it's not for me, they've heard about it from other people. Nothing new, nothing novel. Not going to get great open rates. I still probably average between 25, 30% for those. But if I send out an email on Google's rolling out a new algorithm this week, this is what you need to know, you're talking about like a 40+% open rate. So if the content is new, and what I mean by new is non-regurgitated content, stuff that people haven't read about before, that stuff does extremely well and the open rates are the best. But the same goes for writing social content and blog content. It all actually goes hand in hand. If you create content that's not regurgitated and it's new, not new as in this is the first time you're writing about it or filming a video about it, but I'm talking about new in the aspect that other people haven't really heard about it. That's what gets the most likes, the most shares, and the best open rates, whether you're sending out an email blast or an SMS, although SMS isn't really as much opens because it all gets delivered. Technically, it is opens, but where you really see the big driver in SMS is the click rate. That's the easiest and the most accurate one to track with SMS. But when we look at it, it's like, how can you just create new content that no one's ever read about before, or very few people have read about before or watched before? Because when you include that kind of stuff in your marketing materials through communication like emails, your open rates just go through the roof. And that's the key. Like the other stuff we talk about, like scrub your list and make sure that you build rapport with people early on. Yeah, those are all tactics. But the root of the problem with poor open rates really comes down to the content quality and the type. And when I say content quality and type, it's even if it's really well written, people are tired of reading the same crap that they already read about 3 years ago, or listening to the same stuff that they already listened to 5 months ago. It's the new stuff is what does really well.
Okay, so here's what I'll say. We're saying the same things. So it's when you're producing new stuff and it's novel, people can look forward to the next one, right? If you're consistent with that, then you should be able to continue to grow. And which this actually dovetails into what we're planning to do with this podcast, right? Because some people will say, oh, like we're saying the same thing over and over. That's why we're going to be doing more reactionary stuff. And leave a comment, subscribe to us on YouTube. We're going to be doing a lot more of that because I think our brains are better utilized for that. We're going to be talking about that from a business and a macro and marketing perspective. And we're going to be sharing new marketing stuff too. So you get a mix of the best business and the best marketing material as well. And that's going to keep you continue to look forward to continue opening these podcasts. It's very similar. Like you can do the same thing for SMS. For any form of content at all, you have to keep people engaged. And how do you do that? You have to keep things novel. You have to keep things interesting because human beings like things that are interesting, right? So it's still the same thing at the very end of the day. You have to get people to look forward to the next piece of content. If you're saying the same stuff over and over, you're not going to do as well. Anything else?
Oh, that's it.
All right. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube and also rate, review, subscribe. Leave your email and we'll pick a lucky winner to come ask a question live on this pod. And we will see you later.